Hello guys, today I am going to share my personal experience about how to think like a leader. Remind yourself once again that you are not pulled to high level of success. Rather you are lifted there by those working beside and below you. Achieving high level success requires the support and the cooperation of others, and gaining the support and cooperation of others requires leadership ability. Success and the ability to lead others, that is getting them to do things they would not do if they were not led, go hand in hand. The success producing principle explained in the previous chapter are valuable equipment in helping you develop your leadership capacity. At this point, we want to master four special leadership rules or principles that can cause others to do things for us in the executive suites, in business, in social clubs, in the home where we find people. These four leadership rules principles are trade mind with the people you want to influence. Think what is the human way to handle this. Think progress, believe in progress, push for progress. Take time out to conference with yourself and develop your supreme thinking power. Practicing these rules produce result. Putting them to use in everyday situation takes the mastery of that gold-plated world leadership. Let's see how. Leadership rules number one: trade minds with the people you want to influence. Trading minds with people you want to influence is a magic way to get others, friends, associates, customers, employees to act the way you want them to act. Study these two case histories and see why. Worked as a television copywriter and director for a large advertising agency. When the agency obtained a new account, a children's shoe manufacturer, Tate was assigned responsibility for developing several TV commercials. A month or so after the campaign had been launched, it became clear that the advertising was doing little or nothing to increase product movement in retail outlets. Attention was focused on the TV commercial because in most cities only television advertising was used. Through research of television viewers, they found that about 4% of the people thought it was simply a great commercial, one of the best, these 4% said. The remaining 96% were either indifferent to the commercial or in plain language, or they smiled. Hundreds of comments like this were volunteered. It's witty. The rhythm sounds like a New Orleans band at 3 a.m. My kids like to watch most TV commercials, but when that show comes on they go to the bathroom or refrigerator. I think it's too uppity up. Seems to me someone's trying to be too clever. Something especially interesting turned up when all the interviews were put together and realized the 4% who liked the commercial were people pretty much like Tate in terms of income, education, sophistication, and interest. The remaining 96% were definitely in a different socio-economical class. Tate's commercial, which cost lots of money, flopped because Tate thought only of his own interest. He had prepared the commercial thinking of the way he buys shoes, not the way the great majority buy shoes. He developed commercial that pleased him personally, not commercial that pleased the great bulk of the people. The result would have been much different had Tate projected himself into the mind of the mass of ordinary people and asked himself two questions. If I were a parent, what kind of a commercial would make me want to buy those shoes? If I were a child, what kind of a commercial would make me go tell my mom or dad that I want those shoes? John is an intelligent, well-educated young woman of 24, fresh from college. John got a job as an assistant buyer in ready-to-wear goods at a low to medium-priced department store. She came highly recommended. John has ambition, talent, and enthusiasm. One letter said she is certain to succeed in a big way. But John did not succeed in a big way. John lasted 8 months and then quite retiring for all the works. I knew a buyer well, and one day I asked him what happened. John is a fine girl, and she has many fine qualities, he said, but she had one major limitation. What was that? I asked. Well, John was forever buying merchandise that she liked, but most of our customers did not. She selected style, colors, materials, and price she liked without putting herself in the shoes of the people who shop here. When I had suggested to her that maybe a certain line wasn't right for us, she had said, "Oh, they will love this." I do. I think this is will move fast. Joan had been brought up in a well-to-do home. She had been educated to want quality. Price was not important to her. Joan just could not see clothing through the eye of low to middle income people. So the merchandise she bought just wasn't suitable. The point is this: to get others to do what you want them to do, you must see things through their eye. When you trade minds, see mind the secret of how to influence other people effectively shows up. A very successful salesman friend told me he spent a lot of time anticipating how prospect will react to his presentation before he gives it. Trading minds with the audience helps the speaker design a more interesting, harder hitting talk. Trading mind with employee helps the supervisor provide more effective, better received instruction. A young credit executive explained to me how this technique worked for him. When I was brought into this store, a medium-sized clothing store, as assistant credit manager, I was assigned the job of handling all collection correspondence. The collection letters the store had been using greatly disappointed me. They were strong, insulting, and threatening. I read them and thought, brother, I had been mad as hell if somebody sent me letters like these. I never would pay, so I just got to work and started writing the kind of letter that would move me to pay an overdue bill if I received it. It worked. By putting myself in the shoes of the overdue customers, so to speak, collection climbed to a record high. Numerous political candidates lost election because they failed to look at themselves through the mind of the typical voters. One political candidate for a national office, apparently fully as qualified as his opponent, lost by a tremendous margin for one single reason. He used a vocabulary that only a small percentage of the voters could understand. He opponent, his opponent, on the other hand, thought in terms of the voters' interest. When he talked to farmers, he used their language. When he spoke to factory workers, he used words they were easily familiar with. When he spoke on TV, he addressed himself to Mr. Typical Potter, not to Dr. College Professor. Keep this question in mind. What would I think of this if I exchanged place with the other person? It paves the way to more successful action. Thinking of the interest of the people we want to influence is an excellent thought. Rule in every situation. A few years ago, a small electronics manufacturer developed a fuse that would never blow out. The manufacturer priced the produce to sell for 1.5 cent and the trained an advertising agency to promote it. The account executive placed in charge of the advertising immediately became intensely enthusiastic. His plan was to blanket the country with mass advertising on TV, radio, and newspaper. This is it, he said. We will sell 10 million the first year. His advisors tried to caution him, explaining that fuels are not a popular item. They have no romantic appeal and people want to get by as cheaply as possible when they buy fuels. Why not? The advisor said. Use selected magazines and sell it to the high income levels. They were overruled and the mass campaign was underway, only to be called off in 6 weeks because of disappointing results. The trouble was this: the advertising executive looked at the high-priced fuse with his eye, the eye of a high-income person. He failed to see the product through the eye of the mass market income levels. Had he put himself in that position, he would have seen the wisdom of directing the promotion towards the upper income groups and the account would have been saved. Develop your power to trade minds with the people you want to influence. The exercise below will help. Practice trading minds exercise. Situation for best result and ask yourself. Situation number 1. Giving someone work instruction. Looking this for the viewpoint of someone who is new to this. Have I made myself clear? Writing an advertisement. If I were a typical prospective buyer, how would I react to this ad? Telephone manner. If I were the other person, what would I think of my telephone voice and manners? Gift. Is this gift something I would like? Is it something he will like? Often there is an enormous difference. The way I gave order. Would I like to carry out order if they were given to me the way I gave them to others? Child discipline. If I were the child, considering his age, experience, and emotion, how would I react to this discipline? My appearance. What would I think of my superior if he were dressed like me? Preparing a speech. Considering the background and interest of the audience, what would I think of this remark? Entertainment. If I were my guest, what kind of food, music, and entertainment would I like best? Put the trading minds principle to work, or you consider the other person's situation. Put yourself in his shoes, so to speak. Remember his interest, income, intelligence, and background may are different considerably from yours. Now ask yourself, if I were in his situation, how would I react to this? Whatever it is you want him to do, then take action that would move you if you were the other person. People use different approaches to leadership situation. One approach is to assume the position of a director. The director makes all decisions without consulting those affected. He refused to hear his subordinate side of a question because down the phrase he afraid the subordinate might be right and this would cause him to lose face.